Not new to any one of us, I'm sure you have all heard the statement that parents are the first and foremost teachers of young children. No matter how hard we work, the biggest impressions will always come from home and family. Families initiate the learning of language, cultural, and society customs and behaviors. They are also all-powerful in letting children know if reading is important as well. So what are some strategies you can use to help encourage reading at home, especially ways that lead up to an obvious connection between home and school? One strategy I have used is to send copies of a favorite classroom story home with children to share with their families. Many programs, classrooms, and Head Starts encourage children to choose to take books home off the classroom shelf to share at home. This also encourages children to read with families. Another more adventuresome way to work with would be to get together with Best Beginnings to see if you can get a Dolly Parton Imagination Library in your community. Then you can also make sure to not only have the same books in your classrooms, you can also encourage their reading at home as well once children are enrolled in the program. Just as important as sharing books with children and families is the selection of appropriate books for the children themselves. There are lots of books out there in our communities and society. Selecting appropriate ones for use at story time, classroom libraries, and home loan programs can be a challenge. So one guide is to decide if you like the book yourself. It's really hard to read a book to children when you don't even like it yourself. Along with this, there are other attributes to keep in mind. A simple, well-developed plot centered on a sequence of events with action predominant, a slight surprise element that makes the children wonder what's going to happen next can add much to a story. A large amount of direct conversation. Ask the children, what do you think is going to happen next? Oh my goodness, what do you think about that? And proceed, talk with them, share it. Use of repetition, rhyme, and catchphrases that children can memorize quickly and easily. Use of colorfully chosen language. Situations involving familiar happenings, the new, the unusual, and different ways may be included, but there must be enough of the familiar with which children can identify. A simple and satisfying climax. One main character with which children can easily identify, because too many characters can be confusing. A variety of ethnic, cultural, and racial backgrounds. Such stories should represent realistic pictures with no stereotypes of racial or ethnic groups. Illustrations, because young children read pictures. Pictures need to accurately portray the content and the mood of the story. Accuracy is also important, especially in nonfiction books. Fact or fiction pictures should accurately portray the book's action, mood, and intent. Emergent readers pay very close attention to the pictures that tell the story or provide information. Therefore, the pictures need to do that for them. In nonfiction books, the illustration should integrate well with the writing. Youngsters will also count on pictures to give them clues to the print. Therefore, pictures need to do that as well. The language of print is different from regular talking. Children who are not adequately exposed to the language of print are at a serious disadvantage of learning to read. Experience has shown me that it is typical to get a lot of discussion within this unit about the idea that children might not be required to come to story time if they don't want to. I think it's very important to consider the implications of forcing children to do something that we really, really want them to love. I personally believe that there are some basic rules and strategies that should be used in these situations. First, I do not ever force children to come and attend a circle or story time. Sometimes they're different events in different classroom situations. So I would say do things like this. Set up your story time so it's in a fairly centrally located place within the classroom. This way it can be heard from all areas of the environment. And then either have specific story time activities that are available to children that can be used as an alternate to sitting and listening to the story. Make sure the activities are interesting as well as quiet. Another main point to have with children in this type of situation is to make sure that they know they may not interrupt with activity questions or statements during story time. Making the point that a child who opts out of story is not allowed to disrupt story time for others, and that they are in the vicinity and hearing it. Personal classroom experience has also shown me that the children that are too wiggly to sit through a story time will usually listen while their hands are busy. I've also known this to be true in a face-to-face class for adults. I have had adults beading, knitting, drawing, doing all kinds of things in class as they sit and listen to discussions and lectures. If a child is not used to sitting for story time, they will usually become intrigued and join in before too many days of listening in from a distance. Especially if their friends are sitting and listening, and they see this, and they want to join in. Before long, the whole classroom is sitting and sharing the experience without much disruption at all. So thank you, and I hope you enjoy Unit 4.